All right. We have plenty of time to contemplate and think over what we're talking about. And how do you bring out the principle?
I'm sorry, again, to center more the video.
Move your chair in the middle.
Like this. I mean, maybe to move the phone, but.
Move your chair down. Move your chair.
No, the opposite way.
The other one, see?
Okay, like this.
Okay. How do we interpret the words? Roya and mitus hadov. We need a clarity in these words. As we said the other day, Roya and mitus hadov does not mean he sees that he sees what there is to see. He sees beyond what there is to see. He sees that what he sees is truth. What does that mean? And what does the truth mean? And how do we see it? So as I said, we had plenty of time to reflect on the challenge over here. And I realized there's a clear way that we can recognize this principle of mitzvah. And it's so simple and obvious that it eludes us. It eludes us. We miss it all the time because we're so accustomed to it, we take it for granted. The world is a divine creation. The word divine has actually penetrated our language. And many times we define something, oh, this is so beautiful, it's divine. What do we mean when we say it's divine? So I realized that there's a very simple, straightforward way to get us to focus on this principle. And again, we go off a little bit and then we come back. Go off into the physical world. In our erstwhile table, the table stands quite solidly. Even though the table stands solidly, having been well designed and well put together, we can readily, the way we see the table is, there's a board and there are 4 legs, and we can readily see the 4 legs are separate entities from the board. They didn't get born together with the board. They were put onto the board using certain methods of attaching them. And even after they are touched, they're separate entities, holding up the board. Compare this to the human hand. How come I don't see anything? What is this?
We can hear and see you.
You could hear me? Oh, you're back now. Compare this, as I said, to very simple things, something we constantly, a human hand. The human hand consists of several parts. At the shoulder, it's connected. At the elbow, it's connected. At the hand, it's connected. the fingers are connected. There are many different connecting points. What is the difference between these connections and the connections of a table with its legs? The connections of a table with its legs are actually superseding, defying their separateness. We're forcing them to be connected to each other using screws or using all kinds of different things. The connection between the various parts of your arm is a perfectly amicable connection. There is no rebellion on any part of the arm and says, no, I have to be separate. It's to be identified as a separate entity. The finger connects to the hand, not because the hand holds onto the finger. The finger holds onto the hand, and the hand holds onto the finger. It's a complete union. The union there expresses the principle that the finger and the hand are one and the same thing. Because the principle of the hand is to allow, to bring the finger to where you can hold on to things. So the finger and the hand are not separate entities. Moreover, the finger and the hand have a unified purpose in being. It is incorrect to say that the hand wants to get hold of something and it uses the finger to get hold of it, to get hold of it. The hand
This is a little better.
the hand and the fingers and everything that goes along with it. The elbow and all the versatility, the perfect movability and the reachability and so forth, great grasp, all that is part of that same creation. This is what we call divine. The Rebbe does not hold on to things because he has a method of holding on to them. He holds on to things because they're within his reality. And the Rebbe created a world. Within the world, he created all kinds of creatures. And he gave these creatures everything that they need in his standard. So that they hold on to things they don't even know what makes it possible to hold on to them. It's a divine gift that our head can hold on to stuff. It's a divine gift that we have the means to reach out and pick something up. It's a divine gift that we can walk on our legs without even noticing how we walk. This is the meaning of amitis ador. The truth of the thing is how it is conceptualized on the divine level, not on the worldly level. In the worldly level, when if you have to reach out, you have to have a method how you reach to it. In the mind, there's no method. Whatever you need to reach is within reach. This is how it was created to begin with. As we mentioned all the time, when the Rebbe created the human being, Adam Arisha, he blessed them. And I'm going to quote directly. Be fruitful and multiply. This being fruitful and multiply is clearly a divine gift. It is not a physical or worldly phenomenon. We never saw a table multiply into another table. There's no such thing. Now there is no thing. It doesn't mean it's in our imagination. Is a divine bracha to the human being. Why? Because he's much more than that meets the eye. He's a divine presence. A divine presence has this truth phenomenon. I'm going to describe the word truth in a moment. Has this truth phenomenon that it permeates the entire existence. If he holds on to something, he's not holding on to something by overpowering that something. He holds on to something because that thing fits into his hand and belongs there. As we said before, the experience that we have in walking is a very phenomenal thing. We don't realize how miraculous this whole is, especially a human being walking on two. And we completely take it for granted. The reason we take it for granted is because it is a gift, it's a divine gift. We don't effectuate it by our action. There's a truth in this principle of a human being walking around the earth. What is the truth of it? The truth of it is, fill the earth and capture it. How do you capture it? Declare it as yours. Yours, your thing is yours, whether you're holding it in your hand, or it's you're not holding your hand, or it's in the other room, or it's in the other side of the world. As we said many times, ownership is a divine gift to the human being, and he can own something which is physically not reachable from the place where he is, and yet it is 100% his. So the reality in which we function physically is not a physical reality. We cannot duplicate it, but in the tables that we build, no matter how perfect the table is. The Rebbe says over here in Mazel, the Mazel should be in Shoma. He has a Muna Pshut. Maybe we'll be elaborate on it. A Muna Pshuta. And as the Rebbe says, Shaharei hu roye amitis hadover. Boggles the mind. We think we see how things operate. If we see how things operate, how come you cannot duplicate it in the physical world? The answer is, you don't see how things operate. You see how things are on the truth level. Meaning, the hand in truth belongs together with the arm. It's not a connection between two things. The arm grows out and becomes a hand. A hand grows out and becomes a finger. The entire structure has one single spirit that unites it, that creates the whole thing. You don't have to unite it. You don't have to unite the finger to the hand. It is one by definition. This is the meaning, Amitis Hador. Amitis Hador means how the things is conceptualized. When the Rebbe created the human being, he said to him, Milo Zohar to Chivshuha. Chivshuha, what does that mean, Chivshuha? Chivshuha means conquer it, capture it. Declare your ownership of it. How do you do that? You have to go around the whole world and make and declare, put posts, this belongs to me. I don't need to do that at all. I can be 1,000 miles away and I declare this is mine. I want to add another notch to this. When a human being declares this is mine, it is not in the common sense, mine versus yours. Mine means mine, human, rather than the wild nature of the world. No man's land. Everything in the world belongs to the human being. So that wherever he comes, in no time, he transforms it into a human abode. We in our day have a perfect illustration of this phenomenon. When we came to Eretz Yisrael, before that, you know, the Arabs had the land. It was a desert, inhabitable, uninhabitable. The Negev was uninhabitable, a wasteland of heat, sun and heat, and it's unlivable. We came to this land in no time. It came to life. It reflects a human reality. The Negev is the richest place in the world. There was no water, we brought water there. We created navigation. And the earth in the Negev became really fruitful. You won't believe what the Negev turned in the period of 20 years. From a desert into an orchard. This is the principle Kivshuha. This is a divine command to the human being and divine blessing to the human being. And we do not feel out of place when we go to the Negev. Hey, don't belong there. This is a wilderness for the snakes and scorpions. It belongs to us. Now, having said this much, we can have a focus in to the words in the Maimer. Pshitas hu amuna, the Mazle Chosi, Shari Yoreya Mitis Hadober, because he sees the truth of this thing. We didn't transform the desert, the Negev, into a human place. In truth, it was meant for us. Just waited for us to capture it, to claim it. We did not transform the Negev. We did not make the Negev. The Negev was there waiting for us to capture it and to make it into a human abode. This is the pshat, Amitis Adom. Let's try to translate the word Amitis Adom. The truth of it. The truth of it means how it was conceptualized before it became a Mitzvah. We said many times over these days that the way things are conceptualized, the way things materialize in the physical world, is never the same. Please understand. Yes, we said many times that carpenter cannot duplicate the table the way he conceptualizes it in his mind. But the Eibishter absolutely created a physical world that completely reflects the way the Eibishter conceptualized the physical world. The physical world that the Eibishter presented to us is a divine world. It has its own resources. It lives on its own, so to speak. It replenishes on its own. It's a living physical entity. Just as the human being, the human body, is replenishing on its own, the desert, the earth, replenishing on its own. Everything that God created has an amiti sadomer, has a truth to it. Even though we can explain how things stand, that is not how they really stand. They stand because there's a life element that holds them together. This is where Emunah Pshuto originates. Emunah Pshuto means simple. Simple means that it is not a discovered element. This is, I see it the way it is in its inception, not the way it materialized and a fact, but the way it was conceptualized. That Amitas Adon. This is where Emunah Pshuta comes. In Emunah Pshuta, we see how things are conceptualized on the divine level. This is why it's Pashut. Pashut means don't have to effectuate, not to create anything. This is the way it should be. This is the way it is in its truth, in its inception. The way it's in inception, that's how it comes out in fact. I said many times, imagine a human being conceptualize a house, and the house gets built from his concept. There could not be a more perfect house than that. So a human being does not have that capacity, but the Eibishter absolutely does. The Eibishter created the world the way it is in a conceptualized level. This is why a hand is a perfect union between the hand and the fingers and the arm. It's a perfect union, it's not connected. The versatility that we have in our fingers and in the hand and in the arm, and then the rest of the body is unconscious, unimaginable. Unimaginable. It is like the body extends itself to pick something up. Not the body, the brain extends itself to pick something up. The brain gives highest to the hand, and the hand obeys the command of the brain and goes and picks it up. They're not two separate entities. This is Pshat Amitis Hador. Because Amitis Hador is rooted in the principle that it came to be because God wanted, this is the divine design, divine creation. The Rebbe wanted the human being to prove that the human being should be able to capture and work the whole earth. Thereby, he gave the human being that capability, and the human being actually holds on to the whole earth from wherever he is. So the truth of it, Amitzah Dover is the truth the way it is conceptualized, quote unquote, at the divine level, from God's perspective. And everybody understands if you can just focus. The Rebbe does not create things by building them. He creates things by saying they should be like this. That's how it is. Right at the beginning of the whole world is a controversy for many years. The first day of creation, David said, let there be light. And says, oh, light is good. Let there be light. Where's light going to come from? Let there be light because God wants there to be light, and therefore there's light. Later on, God created the luminaries so that the light becomes acceptable, so to speak, and identifiable from a worldly perspective. But initially, there was light because God wants it to be light. The human being, the human arm is able to extend it because that's a divine design, not because the arm is so structured to be able to reach it. The versatility in the hand, the capability in the hand, the writing capability, all the various skills that are in the hand, this is not, he developed a physical capability. This is divine spirit that's in the hand itself. There's an expression, I'm sure everybody heard about, a carpenter who built a perfect house. He has golden hands. What do you mean golden hands? When the hands built by himself, he conceptualized in his mind how to build it. Because he has golden hands. The hands have a feel for what they're doing. This is the Mebish's creation. This is seeing the thing in the way. Amit is the way it is, and it's true. The hand that was designed by the Mebish should be a hand that should be able to do everything that a hand can do. And do it perfectly. Perfectly means at the divine level. He can do it as if this is the way they were born to begin with. This is what I wanted to add in these words. Roya Amitis Ador. Emunah Pshuta comes from the fact that in the Mazel Shem Neshama, we see Amitis, we see how it is in truth, how it was conceptualized at the divine level. He doesn't see it the way it is in fact materializing and happening, but the way it is in truth. In truth, he sees that a human being is supposed to have all of these capabilities. Human being is supposed to own the world, feel perfectly at home in the world, and claim the world as his. If you buy a home, the home is yours. How did you ever think of having a home that's yours? The Rebbe gives it to you. The Rebbe gives you the right to own a home, and you have to buy it, so to speak. This is a transactional level, but essentially, you have the right to own it, and you own it 100%. In this home, you can build and destroy whichever you want, whichever way you want to go. You can change it completely around. This is because it's yours from a truth perspective, not from a factual perspective. This is the principle of Emunah Pshuta. And Emunah Pshuta means an Emunah does not come as a result of any kind of demonstration, or any kind of observation and recognition. Emunah that is inherent in the neshama. Because the neshama sees Amit is Adova. And the neshama sees a table, says, oh, he sees the Mebash's spirit in it. He sees human being clearly, he says the whole world. This is not a worldly thing, this is a divine thing. Amit is Adova. This is what we said the other day. And it behooves us, it allows us to think, to recognize certain things from that perspective. If we conceptualize, contemplate anything in the world, and you say, I want to imagine this thing doesn't exist. It can be eliminated from existence. That is not possible. Nothing that exists in the world can be eliminated from existence completely, as if it never existed. Because everything that exists at the divine level. It exists not on the created and the world level, on the created level, on the functional level, at the truth level, mitis adom. Amiti emes, emes cannot be destroyed. Emes cannot be eliminated. This is why we say, and every human being understands that. Every human being understands that. The neshama is a divine presence in the human being. When a human being has lived through, so to speak, the allotted years that the neshama was given to live in this body, and the neshama is taken out of the body, and the body ceases to live, the neshama continues to live. Because it's a divine truth. That cannot be eliminated. we can notice it. We can recognize. I want to bring it home. We can see it from the fact that, we come in our youth, we're very strong, we're very capable. We can move without effort from place to place. We can build, we can do things, all kinds of different things. As time goes on, our capabilities, our versatility becomes limited. When we walk, it's much more of an effort to walk. You have to be careful, you have to balance out and so forth. Does that mean that we have lost the neshama capability in our function? Absolutely not. We have to be more careful with how we use the body. But the neshama, the will to do it is the same, exactly the same. The sense of reality is exactly the same. Because the neshama does not get old. Because the neshama is amitis adova. The neshama has a function, a divine mission. That divine mission is true, is amitis, is emes. That cannot be eliminated. It cannot be reduced. Forget about it. It cannot be reduced. This is why a child can do a mitzvah, a young man can do a mitzvah, and an elderly person who can hardly put on tefillin on his own is also doing a mitzvah. Saying the same means exactly. Because the neshama element does not become old. It's a mitis hador. It's a truth the way it was conceptualized on the divine level. When the Rebbe created the human being, this is how you conceptualize human being. That is what human being is. Human being is a perfect rendition of the Rebbe concept. It was not lost, nothing is lost in the transition, in the building it. Nothing, building exactly the way he's conceptualized. So therefore, this physical human being can do avodas Hashem, can put on tefillin, learn Torah, and do mitzvahs, everything. Because in the physical body, he is actually representing Hashem's design for what he is. So it is not incorrect to say that when you look at the human being, moreover, you look at anything in the world, you're actually looking on a divine entity, on divine design, on divine reality. Even though it may be crippling and so forth, it still retains the divine spirit. Okay.
So the whole creation is divine. It's just that the human being is B'Tselem Elokim, no?
That's right, absolutely. Absolutely. Through the Rebbe created the human being, the Rebbe said, Nasa Odom B'Tzalmeinu Kid Museinu. Tzalmeinu Kid Museinu is a literal statement. B'Tzalmeinu in our form, in our likeness. In other words, the Rebbe has created a physical entity that represents him on the worldly level. Because how can you have a world, a divine creation, without a representation of the divine? It's not real.
We did start with a, I guess it was by contrast, we had the table that is a composite, the board, the legs, and by contrast, the hand, the fingers. So on the one hand, the world is divine. On the other hand, we are saying the world is sort of circumstantial and composite.
No. What you're distinguishing is between that which was made by God and that which was made by human being. Human being cannot duplicate divine creativity.
All right.
But hello.
Yes, I'm here.
But was distinguished between the unity of a table and the unity of a hand. That the table, the legs is forced up on the board. It's not really one unity. But even on the table, the conception of the human being is that it should be one table. It still comes down on the table because we still sense this is one table. It's not the same like the fingers, but we look at it and not compared to the hand, but as a table, it's one table. And this comes from the human spirit, as was explained all along from previous.
It is one table only functionally, not factually. And this is the difference. The human being, the hand is not a functional unity with the body. It is actually a one thing with the body. To the extent that if God forbid there is a break and the hand breaks off from the arm, we put it together and let it grow back and becomes one again. You cannot duplicate that phenomenon on the table.
Was being said that even the table has something similar because if it breaks, it's going to be fixed.
No, when it's fixed, it's a new table. It's not that it grows back to because it was there before.
But still, we look at it as this table is gonna be a table. It's
yeah, that's because functionally we need a table. Not that the table demands that you be put together.
It's not that the table demands, but the human concept that it demands it should be a whole table. This is also
human concept does not demand that it should be a whole table. Human concept demands I need a table, and I'm using the material of the broken table to make me a table. Halachically, when a table breaks and you fix it, it's called in halacha ponim chadoshes bonim. Where do we see this halacha? If the table becomes tomei, for example.
What is it called in halacha? What was that word, that terminology?
Ponim chadoshes. It's a new entity, a new presence. If it breaks, if a keli breaks, it loses, it's no longer tomei, becomes tomei. You put it back together, it doesn't become tomei again. It's a new table, a new keli.
Banim chadashes, like a binyan, like
Panim,
a face.
panim, like in a sheva brachas, panim chadashes.
That's right.
Okay.
So it does seem like we're. Is it accurate to think that the human endeavor is to make things on the divine on the factual level as well, or we just always going to be on the functional level. Isn't part of the goal here, let's call it dira b'tachtonim, to actually have this sort of factual level through and through, or are we saying that just by working in the functional level the way we're meant to, that is good and sufficient?
Just working at a functional level, that is absolutely sufficient for the human being, because when the human being takes something and he uses it on a functional level, in the functional level, he identifies it as having a divine purpose.
One more time. By having a functional level, he identifies a divine purpose. Is that what was said?
Right, that's right.
Oh, so by virtue of whether it's a marriage or building a table, by virtue of doing that correctly, he uncovers a divine element within it?
Not within it, but to it. He brings a divine element to it. This is what a bracha is. A bracha is declaring this as having a kedusha to it. By chasana, you say bichas nisuin, bichasedes and bichasein. One is a bracha to bring elokus into this marriage.
So this is a sort of lamata lamaila endeavor. He works on the seemingly functional level, and according to his seichel, but he calls forth or brought to it from above is the divine kiyum. Yeah,
that's right. And the reason he is able to do that and brings a divine element into the physical world is that he has a neshama that is actually of a divine structure, of a divine source. Mazle chozik. When a human being gets married, two people get to join together. The concept that he has in this joint, the human being himself, the concept in this joint, that this joint is going to be one single joint, as if they were born together in the same belly.
Yeah, binyan, an eternal.
That's what binyan deyad, an eternal being. How can a human being build anything that's eternal? The answer is because it has an inherent element in it. He simply reveals the eternality of it.
Okay.
I would like to go back again. Is it being said now that the human concept of building a table is not reflected at all? It's only what is being actually built. The idea is not reflected at all?
I don't understand.
Is it being said now that the concept of a human table, the concept that a human being has of building a table is not reflected on the table, just the functionality, what he's actually building?
That is correct. He cannot create the concept of a table. He can bring it out on a functional level only.
Right. He brings it out on a functional level, and the concept, the spirit of the human being is not being sensed at all. Is this what is being said now?
Well. That's taking it a little too far. Let me explain what you mean. You put a leg to a table, and the table's attached. The legs attached to the table. It's attached to the table via using the screws that hold it together. It never grows back. If a leg stands on the table for 100 years, it does not grow into the table. It's still held up by the screws that connected it. It doesn't grow into it. Because a human being cannot create the reality. He can only bring out the functionality.
Okay, I understand, but I'm trying still to ask again, if it's being said now that the concept is not being reflected, only the functionality is being reflected.
What is the concept of a table? We spoke about it way back when. The concept of the table is on the human level, on the spirit level. That a human being, because of his status in this world, because of his mission in the world, the world stands on the ready to serve him. If he needs a table to be able to hold his sefer, to hold his cup, he can take a physical table, make it. Okay. But that is something which you are subjugating the physical entity to serve the human being. He does not then become alive and say like a human being, a servant. He doesn't get the servant sense. Doesn't come to life.
Okay, this part I understand. Why is it referred a mythos of a lakut?
There is an element in this, which we have to discuss maybe another time. There's an element in this. The klal is, you take a lulav, take an esrog, or take anything. Take any physical entity for which you made a bracha, you made a mitzvah. It acquires a certain kedusha because a mitzvah was done with it. Okay, and even there, the halacha is that tefillin has a certain kedusha, very high kedusha. When did the tefillin acquire their level of kedusha? Not at the time when they are being made, but at the time when they're first being used for tefillin. When the actual mitzvah was done with them, that's when they get this kedusha. At the time when they were written and put together, they still don't have that kedusha. That kedusha comes when a human being uses it for a mitzvah. The mitzvah is what makes it, what unites it, what gives it kedusha.
I have
Not
another
what the
question.
human being does in the physical world.
Why is it? We're learning now about roya mitzvah adover, and if I understood, amitis meant divine. Why do we call amitis divine?
Because that is amitis is. Amitis is where is the whole principle of amitis come from? There is a truth. Where does truth come from? Truth is that which is divine. That's called truth. Truth means the way it is conceptualized before it came into being in the physical world.
And this is what we see. Roya mitas. This is what the neshama sees.
Just 1 second. The human being is alive and is able to walk around and do all kinds of things. Why is he able to do? Because he was trained to walk around. What makes him able to do all these things? Because in truth, he has that capacity. Like this, he was given that capacity, kipshua, to do everything in the world that is doable. When he does it, it's as if the Rebbe himself is doing it.
What's the connection with roya mitas adover?
Roya mitas adover means seeing how things is on the divine level. That's Aditis Ador.
Okay. And therefore, because he has that ability, that this makes him divine himself. This is what is being
No,
said.
it doesn't make him divine. Therefore, that's why he has taken Amuna.
Okay, but what was said now about the Vechevshiu? What was this? What is?
Chivshua is a mitzvah in the Torah that the Rebbe should give the human being the capability of being koivish the world and transform the world. That's Kivshua. This is a divine koyach. I said before, a human being comes to a desert and he transforms the desert into an orchard. Is that real or is that temporary? The answer is, it is real. He revealed in this piece of land, in the desert, it's greater capacity. It's divine capacity.
So sorry guys, gotta go to work. I wish you a wonderful Shabbos, and it should
Same to you.
the last Shabbos in Galut.
Aye.
We should
I
all
Baruch Hashem, I had a shir. I thought we lost it.
Good day, Danielle, everybody.
all the
Shabbos,
best.
Shabbos Yehuda.
Shabbos, everybody.
Everybody be well. It was a pleasure to get together again.
By the way, Mazel Tov, my sister is a Kala.
Wow, Mazel
To
tov.
who? Who's the girl?
No, my sister's the girl.
Who's the boy? Who's the boy?
Yitzchak Brown,
From
Maryland.
Maryland.
Mazel
Mazel
tov.
Tov. She's looking
He's
so
from Brown.
good.
I spoke to him on the phone.
Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Whoa. Oh, look at this.
This is the Babine treasure.
Yes.
Hello.
Babine. Shabbos. Guys. Is Mendel Babine. Is David. Is the Maidel. I would have.
Yeah.
Guys,
Hello.
you see?
Wait, are they in California? 3 hours ahead.
Hi guys.
Hi.
We're in
This is
Atlanta.
Mendel, right? Mendel.
Is the Babines. Mendel.
That's not Babine.
No, he's showing his son.
Yeah, this is his son. Yeah, no.
No, he's showing him the children.
Oh, it's on the son. Okay. All right. We should all have nachas
Amen.
and pleasure and hatzlacha for all the children.
Oh, here's Mara.
Amen.
Barnam, everybody, all children.
And the
Amen.
coronavirus is coming to a complete end.
Coronavirus come to a complete end. Okay, amen to that.
Amen. He's right about that.
What is it?
Amen. Coronavirus to come to a complete end.
Coronavirus and
Amen.
all the viruses. The all problems,
Yeah.
all
All
problems,
people
human
got
problems should be
coronavirus.
Exactly.
All the people that got coronavirus to be better.
Better for Schlemmer.
So for them,
Yeah.
for they were called coronavirus. Like that's Rabbi from Pasta.
And Mendel Handler will
Goldstein,
stand up and
Rubber.
be a full-fledged human being without any constraints.
Amen. All right, guys.
All right, great.
Just a second.
Hi, Babine.
I would like to understand the last point of the Vechevshiu. Where did it come in our shir, Vechevshiu?
Now Shir comes in the union.
We start out to saying that Hashem's concept is being
The
actually.
Rebbe says, one second, the Rebbe says, "Roya amitis adomer." What amitis adomer does he see? All he sees is the table and chairs in front of him.
Okay, let me try to see if I understood what was said by the Shia. Roya Mitas Adover, when Hashem creates something, when Hashem has a concept, and it should be created, it's being created as it is in the concept.
That's right.
Okay, so now.
One second.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that. What does that mean? You create as it is in the concept. What does it mean?
It means that, like, if a human being, let's say, I can explain it only on the negative side, meaning to say what we cannot do.
Okay.
A human being has a concept to build it, has a picture of a table in his mind. He can create it as a picture, as one unit, like he has it. He has to take parts and put them together, and like it was said, like force one part to the other. Hashem, when he has a concept, this should be, it's exactly coming into the world the way it's in the concept, without have to put in different parts and to force one thing into the other.
And then one more step. But they are holding up to each other. They are holding up to each other. It is not that the screw is holding the leg together. The leg and the tabletop unite. The tabletop wants to hold on to the leg, and the leg wants to hold on to the table. That's a real divine creation.
But the leg is not. But the leg is not. But the table is not so. Only
the table is not so.
Right.
But that's right. But I'm giving an example. But a human being, for example, the hand and the arm are one thing. They're not connected by a certain screws.
Right.
That's why the versatility, the ability of the hand's movement is limitless. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have to understand what means Roya Mitas Adover. That he sees, the human being sees it.
The neshama sees Amitas Adover.
Amitas means like from the perspective how Hashem has it in the concept, how it was in the concept of Hashem.
That's right. Only on Hashem's level is there Amitis, is it true. He
and
sees
only
it the way the Rebbe wants it.
And only the human being has that perception. Is this Roya?
That's correct.
The
neshama, not only human, the neshama.
So okay, so now what's the point of the Chifshiu?
The Chifshuah is to translate that divine gift to the neshama, to translate it on the practical part of the world. Bring holiness into the physical world. For example, you make tefillin, and you put on tefillin. The tefillin become holy. He took physical parchment. Now you can transform that into something Kodesh. Because you have the mitzvah to do things in the physical world, you can actually change it to become Kodesh.
But the human being makes everything Kodesh even if he is not aware of his Roya Mitas Adover. When he does a mitzvah, it becomes Kodesh.
No, the neshama is the idea of Adam. The human being knows about it. He is given the mitzvah. But in the neshama, no ya mitzvah dova. Because in the neshama, that's why in the neshama there is the amuna. So he doesn't see a mitzvah dova in the tefillin, but he believes amuna pshuta that this is kedusha.
Right, but and now it's being said on v'chivshiu means not only on mitzvahs, v'chivshiu to build the world. And this is not lav dafke to Yidden, to everyone, to bring out the human element in the world.
In the world, we said before that the kivish in the world is the ownership phenomenon. The fact that a human being can own something, that bidin, even if he never saw it. He made a kinyan. It becomes his. Maybe on the other side of the world. And it's his. Let's keep sure. That's a divine gift to the human being. No other creature in the world has that capacity. Like we mentioned the other day, in the foolish world today, people bequeath wealth to their dogs. And we say, halachically, that has no validity whatsoever. A dog cannot own anything in the world, no matter how much the owner wanted to give it to him. A human being can own. Not only you can own, not only your children can own, but a person to whom you give matana also can own it.
Yasher koyach.
Ruchim Tiyeh, Shidduch Toivos.
Like Shabbos.
I get Shabbos, I get you, Baruch Hashem, back to normal.
Yeah.
Cool.
Shabbos Rabbi Batil, Shabbos Reb Shloimeh.